Every boy dreams of becoming a hero. Their wild and adventurous spirit is amazing, and today we've got an expert who's going to talk to us about raising boys. Dr. Gregg Jantz specializes in emotional counseling, helping people with PTSD and grief recovery. With a whole-person approach to treatment, Dr. Gregg founded the Center, a place of hope, one of the top 10 U.S. facilities in its field. Dr. Gregg receives universal praise for his best-selling books, including Raising Boys by Design and Don't Call It Love. Caring and compassionate, Dr. Gregg is helping patients see amazing results. Please welcome Dr. Gregg Jantz. Dr. Jantz, welcome. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to see you.
You have got this great book that I think the audience is looking forward to, Raising Boys by Design.
Oh boy, if you've got a boy, this is for you, because we all have challenges. By the way, I have two boys.
We were in the green room earlier, and I said to my son, I said, just make a list of my mistakes, and the doctor will help me out with them here now.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Now, boys are different. I mean, we all know they're different than girls, but you've really gone to a different place with this thing. Okay, people don't realize how different.
Right. Well, you know, the majority of D's and F's in schools go to boys. Most of the discipline problems go to boys. So boys are failing more at younger ages. So I have a passion to help boys. Of course, I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I'm right in the middle of it. But what I've noticed is, and I teamed up with a brain expert on this book, is the Bible and science go together really well. As
they're saying the same things.
Yes, as we look at how does the boy brain work, and what can we do to really help our boys? Because deep in the heart of every boy is, you mentioned hero, is a desire to know that I matter, that there's a purpose for my life. And that's why boys wear the cape and run around in the room when they're little. They're looking to identify with something greater than they are.
I heard a quote, and I guess I'm going to get this right, that every father needs to save their son from their mother.
Well, we need both.
I know we need both, but I think just saying that, trying to make them safe and trying to make them just read a book or play with it. This guy's going to put a cape on and jump off of, the steps.
Oh,
he's going to do stuff.
Well, remember this prefrontal lobe, this is where we make all of our executive decisions. For a boy, it's not developed very well.
Does it ever develop?
Well, about age 25, the brain is still developing, but there are brain differences. Boys learn differently. And you mentioned moms. I have, my youngest boy plays football. And I remember there was a kid out on the field that was not getting up, and the dad's standing on the sidelines, and the mom comes running down from the audience and screaming, my boy, and the dad says, he'll get up.
Yeah, it's exactly what I mean.
The differences.
Yeah.
We need both. Moms teach a lot about empathy. Dads teach some other things.
Okay, so you've actually got this broken down where what mom contributes.
Yes.
And what dad, where do we start? Because I didn't know where to start. This is an amazing book.
Well, and by the way, usually if we have a boy, we're frustrated on some level. So let's just say that. And have you ever had this experience? You have something really important you want to talk to your son about, and you say, sit down, we're going to talk. And you go, look at me in the eyes. And you give your lecture. And then you say the crazy thing. You go, did you hear what I said? And what's the boy say? Uh-huh. then you say, what did I just say? And the boy goes, I don't know.
I actually totally find that I've got 4 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
And the boy was last. So if I wanted to talk to the girls, say, hey, Tamara, Danielle, can we talk?
Yeah.
He'd sit down and just excited about it. Now my son, I got to go do something with him,
exactly.
and I have to figure out a way to get, and then there's a little moment somewhere in there, if I can snag it, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Are we on there?
Exactly. Boys need, Leon, a mediating object. In other words, they need a ball, a stick. They need something in their hands if you have something.
So throw a ball at them.
Yeah. No, if you have something really important to talk to a son,
yeah.
Go outside, throw a ball back and forth, put something in their hands. The worst place is to try to sit down at a chair and say, we're going to talk.
Yeah.
The boy brain shuts off. And I am.
It just shuts off. So it does that in men too.
Well, it does.
The wife said, we
Really?
got to talk.
Oh, well, we talk about, we have fun in our home about the differences in the boy brain. We talk about this nothing box. A boy has a nothing box. And this is why it can be really frustrating. In fact, my youngest son, his name is Benji, and I was just having a conversation with him, and he said, Dad, I'm in my nothing box. What'd you say?
He knows he's got a nothing box.
Yeah, and so, it's that place, because it can frustrate, our wives. They say, what do you mean you're not thinking anything? No, I'm really not. What? You can't not think anything. No, I'm really not thinking anything.
They don't believe that, do they?
There's a nothing box in your brain. So understanding this with boys is so important.
Now, you've been counseling, what, 30 years, working with people?
This is our 31st year.
31st year. So, is the reason for the book because you've just seen a lot of stuff along the way that goes, we got to help people with boys? Talk to me about why you wrote the book.
Well, I really feel that, we see a lot of young men who come to us, and folks travel. We're a facility where people come and stay. And the biggest thing that we're seeing with men right now is depression. So we're seeing young men who have critical levels of depression and anxiety. They're not functioning well. And early on, they may have had a lot of school failures. There were some things that didn't go well. We know that the average age to exposure to pornography now on the internet is about age 10. So we're seeing addiction for boys start younger. And so there's a lot, and we talk about technology. There's a lot of technology issues that really can snarl a young man in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So you're seeing a lot of grown men.
Yes.
And you're thinking you're tracking this back to when they were growing up.
We're seeing a trend. Yeah.
One of the questions we have in our church, we have 2 sites of private school.
Yes.
And I actually get this question a fair bit. With a mom with a young boy, they keep asking me, should I keep him back a year? And they keep hearing that if you give them, young girls seem to develop faster than boys. And I actually know a lot of moms who have kept their boy back just 1 year and are really happy for doing that. Is that something that you've seen, or that boys' development is slower when they're younger?
I think sometimes it also depends on school and teacher. My co-author, Michael Gurian, he has an institute where they go in and help schools, teachers teach boys in a different way. I know it sounds silly, but some of the classrooms where they put the bouncy ball and they take the chairs out, and you see boys bouncing up and down as they're taking a test. It sounds silly, but they do improve in their grades the more they're able to move. Boys require motion. And so that constant flipping the pencil and driving you crazy, that actually serves a purpose. It sounds, again, a little odd, but that tapping that pencil on the desk that drives everybody crazy, it's actually turning the brain on.
Is that right?
So boys have begun all that tapping because they're trying to keep their brain awake.
Where were you when I was growing up? I mean, my mom was sure I was going to be the reprobate of the planet. I mean, I was always on the move doing things. Trying to sit down and talk to me was rough. Finally, one guy, I think a person told her one time, okay, the ones that are wild like that are just your future leaders. You just
so it's okay.
It's okay. Let's take a break. And when we come back, I'd love to get a hold of some of the thoughts and just unpack some of this book for people.
You got it.
I'll be right back with Dr. Gregg Jantz.
It's usually a season. So if you're in the middle of the 15, 16, allow that season. But cover him and bathe him in prayer. He's got to know that you believe in him.
We believe Jesus Christ came to give every person on this planet a chance to live with power, passion, and purpose. Through award-winning, world-class TV programs like this and life-giving resources in Spanish, French, Italian, Russian, and Hindi, Spirit Contemporary is changing lives around the world. Considerable expenses are involved, but each person reached is absolutely worth the cost. People are saved, their faith revived, eternities transformed, all because of your support. With your donation today, you will receive today's special resource.
Church. God created church for you to have a home, a family, and a purpose. It's a place where we can connect with each other, where everyone should find love, acceptance, and forgiveness. But the church is not a building. It isn't the brick, the doors, stained glass, or the steeples. It's the people. We fill it with life and laughter. We are the church, and we can meet online from anywhere in the world. Let's connect at Springs Online today.
Welcome back. My guest today is Dr. Gregg Jantz, and he wrote this book, Raising Boys by Design. Why did you add by design? You think God actually designed it this way?
I believe that there's a design for each boy.
Okay, I see.
And God has a design and a plan. And you know what, by the way, as a parent, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I've made plenty with my boys.
Tell me about it.
And so this is not about being perfect.
No.
This is about, I'm going to learn all I can. I'm going to learn about his brain. Okay?
Yeah.
And
Do you think that when parents get so focused on being perfect, they actually mess up? Because it's more about them sometimes looking good in front of people, and we got to be careful.
And
there.
there's too much anxiety in the home, and the pressure.
Yeah.
So boys shut down when there's a lot of pressure. They will not do well. And I'm talking about pressure to perform.
Yeah.
Now, most boys need to have some kind of a sport or a team activity. There's a lot to learn by being a part of a team.
Yep.
And so I really encourage that. We've got to have the physical release.
I got another. I know I'm picking you off topic all the time, and you're doing really good at getting back
Okay.
on. But one of the things I've had from a lot of young families is how much because they've
Yeah.
got a number of children, and they're each got, playing basketball, volleyball,
Yes.
floor hockey, and trumpet
Yes,
lessons, piano
yes.
lessons, and they're seeing, and then they have two doing that, and mom's pulling her hair going, do they have to go to everything? Is there any balance there?
We need to figure that out. I think sometimes we need to look at our boys and go, where's their natural interests and their gifts and talents? Sometimes we're pushing them into things that we think they need to do, or maybe we didn't do something, and so we're having our sons do it.
We're living through them.
Yeah, so we need to be careful about that.
Yeah.
So there's some natural giftedness that we need to really be alert to with our boys.
Very
And
good.
to really, pray for discernment about and wisdom with your boys about, where do we support them, what's important, what's not, and we need not to have the home full of anxiety.
Yeah.
I understand if you're worried about your son, and maybe right now you have a son that seems like he's taking the wrong path,
Yeah.
and you're concerned. And I get that.
Some of the things you've already said are really profound. People don't think that, but when you begin to realize this boy is going to be moving, jittering, jumping up and down, you haven't failed. This is our boy. He's going to be putting a cape on and jumping off the cupboards. He is going to be doing things. That's normal. I think it sets parents free right there in that first session alone.
Yes. Boys too, there's a part of most boys that are enterprising, and I remember coming home, pulling into the garage, and we used to have a little mini bike, but it was in 500 pieces, and my oldest boy had taken it apart. And my first reaction was, what did you just ruin that thing? And I reacted, and he said, no, Dad, we've had a mini bike for a while, I'm gonna make a go-kart. So they're always taking things apart, and they're enterprising. So we need to allow some of that.
Yeah.
Now, we need to be careful when it comes to technology. I need to talk about that.
Okay, you mentioned that at the break. Talk to me about that, because it's a big issue.
It's a big, technology is everything that a boy's brain craves. It's intense, and how much time we allow. So we need to understand that the developing brain can be overstimulated. So you have a young boy and, you know, they're into texting, they're into games, and they're on it too much without boundaries of time, and we're not regulating what they're doing. We know that over time, and brain science shows us that that overstimulated brain, as it's growing, will be a craving brain. It's wanting more and more. So the advent of accessibility of pornography, and the young boy is now engaged in pornography, and he's 12 years old.
You said it's age 10 that we're
That's the
seeing that.
average age of exposure. In other words, first time of viewing pornography on the internet.
See, I didn't even know that by 10 they had a desire like that. Are the boys getting younger and younger when it comes to testosterone
Well, I think
releases, or?
the accessibility is part of what's happening.
Okay.
So we're not doing a very good job regulating how much time they're on their devices, as well as are we involved in what they're involved with. So we have boundaries, simple ones, in our home.
Okay.
Even though I have a 16-year-old, the phone, it goes on the charger in our mom and dad's bedroom at a certain time each night, or you don't have it the next day.
That is so smart.
We don't allow like texting on the way to school. You know, one text can ruin a kid's day.
Yeah.
And we have a little rule is we don't. I realized at home I had trouble when my two boys were at the dinner table having their phone, we call them devices, and they're texting each other versus talking at the table. And I go, we have a problem. And that prompted me then to go, okay, how many devices do we have in our phone, or in our home with a screen? So we went and gathered up from the laptops to the iPads and everything
Computers
else, Game Boy.
Yeah.
We counted 18 devices in our home with screens. Not that they were using them all at the same time.
But they're there.
But I go, okay. So we just realized how sneaky and subtle it was, how this crept into our lives, and how much time it was taking that wasn't healthy. And so I really re-engaged. I know their passwords. We talk about things.
Okay, you said something big here.
Yes.
Okay, because I have two kinds of parents that talk to me about this.
Okay.
The first kind is, but Pastor, I want to trust him. I've raised him. I don't want him to feel like I'm the Gestapo, always over his shoulder. And so we just trust our children. They've got their iPads and computers and their phones. And then I have others that say, we put them in a box at the mealtime and they're going over on the counter. And like you said, when they go to bed at night, it's being charged in my room. You absolutely lean then towards there needs to be boundaries.
There needs to be boundaries. There needs to be accountability.
And you even have their passwords, you said.
Oh yeah, I said, oh, I just did it the other day. I said, Benji, what was your password? He goes, Dad, and he'll just tell me, and he says, I'm not doing anything wrong. I said, I know you're not, and it's all about protection. It's about, because I can't control other people.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, what do you think about this? I was talking to a guy who owned his own business, and he hired a bunch of people from our church. Yeah. And as they're running his till and stuff, he said to me, I just feel awkward now cashing out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because when I cash out at the end of the day, it means I'm checking up on them. But they're Christians from our church, and here's what I told him. I know what you, but I just said, the fact that you cash out and check it up lowers the temptation.
Sure.
If they're going to have a rough time financially, I could just grab a 20. I'm going to put it back in tomorrow because it's not a big deal. But if he checks it out every evening, it almost removes. Now, because you check your son's cell phone, I think if there was a weak moment, which everybody has, that would help. Would you agree, or am I off?
I would agree, and I think there needs to be that accountability. And that's just good standard business practice.
Yep, exactly.
So, now, with boys, I'm also showing interest, and we'll allow like a meal a week where we'll talk about anything they want to talk about technology. Okay, and so I'm learning what the new apps are. They're teaching me.
Yeah.
So we need to put ourselves into their world a bit. I mean, they are living in an age, and it's a digital, there's two adolescents to go through. There's your virtual adolescence, you're growing up online, as well as in person.
Yeah.
So There are. And there's a virtual world, and what that means, and how our boys really have, and how we present ourselves socially and online. So, very important.
Good. We got about a minute left on this topic of boys, and I know they're going to have to get this book, because I think there's a lot of questions that people need answered, and we can't cover it all. But what would you say in just a closing minute to moms and dads as a thought about boys?
Oh, there's hope. There is hope. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's usually a season. So if you're in the middle of the 15, 16, allow that season. But cover him and bathe him in prayer. He's got to know that you believe in him.
Yeah.
So we do this with our boys. I always let them know that they are blessed and I believe in them. And it wasn't too long ago, my youngest boy in the snow in his pajamas came running outside as I'm pulling out of the driveway, tapped on my window, and it's freezing, what are you doing? And Benji said, Dad, I believe in you.
Oh,
and
that's beautiful.
And so
beautiful.
We need to impart that. They need that from us, and there is hope.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jantz. This has been awesome.
Oh, good,
today.
good.
If you've been watching, my guest has been Dr. Gregg Jantz, Raising Boys by Design. You need this book, so follow the prompts on the screen, get a copy. We'll be right back.
Devoted, a daily devotional created with you in mind. Easy to read and simple to understand. These 2-minute faith boosters are available in 8 different languages. Watch it on YouTube or have the booklet sent directly to your home. You can also receive Devoted to your email inbox daily. Become inspired as Leon Fontaine shares practical biblical teaching. Devoted is literally at your fingertips. Transform your life with this Spirit Contemporary devotional. Sign up to receive Devoted today.
I really hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Gregg Jantz today. You know, the cool thing about this show is I get to welcome experts in their field from all walks of life. I want to talk to you about something that's really important to me. It's this concept of spirit contemporary. It's being like Jesus, who was the most spirit contemporary person that ever walked the planet. And his presence, who is in every one of us as believers, is spiritually alive. I mean, you are a spiritually alive person. Holy Spirit wants to show you things to come, wants to guide you with his beautiful gifts and miracles, yet he wants you and I to be contemporary, relevant, cool, able to understand every person, every situation that we get into. That's why this message is so important. We need to get the gospel around the planet. So many people think everyone's heard about Jesus. Everyone's heard about, God, his word. But when people hear about the gospel in a negative way, in a harsh way, in a religious way, it hurts them. And it makes them back away from God, which is why we're so in love with the word spirit contemporary, because it's the way Jesus was. He was spiritually alive, but everywhere he went, he knew how to relate to every individual person. I'd love to have you partner with us. We need to get this message out. There are so many doors that are open for us. Have you ever considered beginning to be a partner with something like this show? Your giving will touch someone's life. Your giving will literally cause somebody to make heaven, because you are financing this message to countries of the world, right into the smallest towns to the largest cities. Your gift of $30 will literally help us to change people's lives. I'd love to send you this resource, No perfect families. It sets people free because God wants to use you, move in your family, help you to raise up kids, to make your marriage work. But there are no perfect families. So stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to be flawless. Stop trying to think that the highest level you're ever going to reach for God is perfect morality. He wants to use you the way you are. If you go to your phones right now for a gift of $30 or more, I'd love to send you this resource. No perfect families, yet God's going to use you in a powerful way. And one day you'll find out all the people that made heaven because you helped finance this message to places we haven't gone yet. God bless you.
We trust that you are being blessed, uplifted, and encouraged in your Christian walk through today's program. As a viewer, you should know that we care about you. We value you greatly and appreciate your prayers. Did you know that Miracle Channel is taking the good news of Jesus Christ around the world through award-winning programs like this? We are actively translating ministry programs into languages like Spanish, French, Italian, and even Russian. We even air on television stations in the Middle East. This means that millions upon millions of people are hearing about Jesus Christ in their language, and it's all thanks to people like you. Considerable expenses are involved, so we need your support because each person who gives their life to Jesus is absolutely worth the cost. Each is of infinite value to God. You are very important to us. We care greatly about your spiritual growth, which is why we would like to get today's resources into your hands. When you support this program by making a donation, you are not only enriching your walk with the Lord, you are sharing Jesus with someone on the other side of the globe. Your donation transforms lives by reaching literally millions of people with the gospel. Call now and change someone's life today.
Tomorrow, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny shares the truth about vaccines and their effect on our bodies.
And as soon as the temperature goes up, like by one little tick, oh my gosh, I have to get a Aleve or Advil or Tylenol or something. And it's like, oh my gosh, we have to stop that. No, fever is important. It's there doing what the body's supposed to do.